Islamist, they all said, okay, we'll get that for you. In Germany, they would have said, you're crazy. You've got to work with our ensemble. And that's a bunch of old white men.
Milo Rao's first piece as artistic director at NT Ghent paid homage to Ghent's famous altarpiece and the city's residents. He didn't just put lambs on stage, but amateur actors, children, migrants, seniors. He wants to create cosmopolitan theater, but he doesn't only want to direct plays.
I really like it, and I'm passionate and pedantic about it. But then it can become boring and stressful. So I'm glad when I can travel and do something that automatically makes sense.
Milo Rao has spent a lot of time in Africa. In Hate Radio, he examined the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, specifically the role of the radio RTLM, which broadcast racist propaganda during the massacres. Up to 1 million people are estimated to have been killed, most of them Tutsis. Most of the killers were Hutus. Survivors of the genocide played the radio hosts in the production. Milo Rao continues to work on projects in and about Africa.
Then I went to Eastern Congo and saw that all the problems, the crises, the genocides had been exported because so many people had fled to Eastern Congo and there was instability and the state collapsed. Many companies exploited the fact that it was a failed state. They saw they could just bribe someone and mine gold and coltan. There are huge deposits there. The war is still ongoing.
Und dann das Ausbeuten und der Krieg geht immer weiter. Da habe ich gedacht, machen wir da mal ein Tribunal.
So I thought, let's set up a tribunal, examine the situation, set up an international court. So we got judges from The Hague, where there's an international criminal court, and from Congo, mixing different legal systems. And we took 3 cases involving companies so that we could create a space to make such trials possible.
Levez-vous, les tribunaux là. Les événements se passent la nuit. Peux-tu nous affirmer que sa police à lui ne travaille que la journée?
The symbolic tribunal and the film were a way of encouraging democracy in Congo.
Als wir dann 2 Jahre später einen Film durch die Minenstädte
When we toured through the mining towns to show the film 2 years later, people said that what was happening was terrible. They said they would stop voting if there wasn't any change and there would be a revolution. That's what we saw in East Germany when everyone said, that's enough. It's enough now.
You want your theater to have an impact on reality, and that happened in Congo as a result of the tribunal, didn't it?
The impact was that 2 ministers were fired from the provinces we had worked in, the mining minister and the interior minister.
The Iraqi actors, what they thought should be done.
أنا برأيي إن الحكم داعش بالقتل يمشي له طفل بريء يمشي له دمروه أنا مش شيء تافه قتل الناس دمرها بالكامل من البيوت من المستشفيات من معاهد كامل بالكامل ودي المحكمة العراقية لا تأخذ مجرى محكمة عادلة محكمة نظيفة محكمة خالية من الفساد.
When asked again, they answered differently.
I expected they'd all vote for forgiveness, but they all abstained. They said, we couldn't even kill a chicken, so how could we vote to put someone to death? Yet if we forgive them, we've abolished justice. That's why my hope still lies with the institutions. The justice can exist. So people say, I can't kill the guy, but I don't want him to go free. So I'll hand him over to a judiciary I trust. But when there isn't any, like in Iraq, what do you do then?
Wenn das nicht da ist, wie im Irak, was machst du denn?
In Milo Rao's staging, the character Orestes is gay, a taboo subject in a predominantly Muslim country like Iraq. This kiss between two men caused an uproar at the performance in Mosul. Actor Johan Leysen was there. Does he think ⁴ went too far?
Miller likes to push things a bit further than other people, and I think that's what theatre should do. And that's what we should do. Make people think about their lives and about our lives together. And that's what he does. So he's maybe provocative, and maybe goes a bit too far sometimes. But I think it's okay. I think it's better than the opposite. The needle goes straight there where it hurts.
The Iraqi performers also push things to their limits and beyond. What does a project like this do for locals?
As we were leaving, people said, "That was cool." For the first time in 20 years, a large group came here to do an art project and not to conquer the city. Orestes in Mosul is a success story. UNESCO watched the film. The Secretary General said, "You must advise us." That shows how little contact there is when they ask us, who've only been there twice, who they should support. I was just named Consultant Director of the Film and Theater Department of the Revive the Spirit of Mosul program. I'm going to build a theater there and do an exchange with 3 border countries: Germany, Belgium, and maybe France. Put it on a solid footing. Millions are flowing into it.
Are you really a political activist at heart?
It's interesting. Time and again, when I'm doing rehearsals, like now, I realize, phew, that's really work. Well, when you're involved in activism, you kind of just get carried along. I think pure activism isn't for me, and pure theater work isn't either. It was really nice in Italy. I'd shoot a Jesus scene in costume, and then take part in some demonstration.
The New Gospel in Matera in southern Italy. Jesus and most of the apostles are African immigrants and refugees. Some are Christian, others Muslim. ⁴ cast people living around Matera, often in camps or makeshift settlements. But this is not a historical film. It's a sad story from our times. ⁴'s Jesus is a social revolutionary fighting for the disenfranchised.
Are you religious?
I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, and I never have, not even as a child. Of course, when you deal with it, you're impressed by the power and the complexity of the Bible. I understand that this book, this faith, still survives, because there's something different about it. For basic humanity, fundamental solidarity, and dignity. Take, for example, how absurd it is that Jesus surrounds himself with the lowest members of society in a bid to seize power. He could have set up better associations. He didn't train any fighters like they did in Islam. They trained fighters, built an army, and achieved power. Okay, too. But goes around shouting, acts ruthlessly, can't take any criticism, and in the end, he's done in by his own people. You might say it's because they can't take any more of him. And I found all of these points really impressive.
On the one hand, the film shows stations in Jesus' life. But on the other, there's this revolta della dignità, this revolt of dignity. Real demonstrations by migrants. What's the situation like for migrants there? And what problems did you have recruiting people in these camps?
I traveled there and realized that this lovely little city, which has doubled for Jerusalem in many films, is ironically surrounded by refugee camps.
ironischerweise.
They're full of people who, thanks to the Dublin regulation, are stuck there. They're exploited on the huge tomato and orange plantations until they die, or, I don't know, disappear.
Tot sind oder ich weiß auch nicht, verschwinden oder
They
zurückgehen.
can't go home or go away either. They're prisoners in Italy. Lightless, illegal, nameless. Just the kind of people Jesus spoke up for.
Für die Jesus gesprochen.
The boundaries between reality and fiction blur. Milo Rao's performers are fighting for better working and living conditions in real life. They've all personally experienced exploitation as field hands who have no rights. Now they're revolting against the mafia and big companies who profit from their labor.
Wir müssen Orte schaffen, wo die Leute nicht
He must create places where people no longer have to work for the mafia, but on their own plantations, for example. We've tried to remind people that a legal basis exists, that it's a scam these laws aren't enforced, and tried to help have them enforced. Like it says in the Bible, I didn't come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it.
es zu vollenden.
Migrants from the camps around Matera have come for the big rally. They're preparing for the Revolta della Dignità, initiated by the actors, Jesus and his disciples.